Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, with our main topic today. We're discussing today the discoveries, the archaeological discoveries that took place during the year 2022, and also most of the discoveries that took place during the recent years. And to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have with us our dear guest, Dr. Ihab Kamel, historian and researcher. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Well, sir, the year 2022 have witnessed a number of discoveries here in Egypt. We would like to start, for example, with the Saqqara district. Not only this year, the year 2022, but the recent years have witnessed several discoveries in Saqqara district.
Well, let me first say that Saqqara is a huge archaeological site. And for many years, we thought that it was only just a cemetery for the Old Kingdom, especially the 5th and 6th dynasties. Fortunately, the latest discoveries had proven otherwise. We had discovered tombs dating back to the 18th dynasty, 19th dynasty, and lately another tomb that was discovered dating back to the 19th dynasty, belonging to one of the high officials of King Ramses II. Also, we had discovered that there is an area known as the Bubastite cemetery, dating back to the period of the Bubastite period, the 22nd dynasty, where we had discovered many burials for mummified animals, and lately they had discovered a cachet, a huge cachet, dating back to the same period, having a huge number of bronze statues. Saqqara is a huge site. It's occupying almost 60 square kilometers, which shows that it has got a lot more to reveal. Saqqara did not reveal what's inside it yet, because it extends for a very large distance, and you'd be surprised to know that the excavations in Saqqara had started since the 19th century, since the 1880s, by Mariat Pasha, and still, up till now, we haven't finished it. We are still finding things in Saqqara.
Yes.
And as I said lately, even in a known area as the Bubastite cemetery, we thought that we had found everything there, and suddenly we discover a cachet which has got a huge number of statues made out of bronze.
Yes, Doctor, I'm asking about Saqqara especially because it's not only the discoveries of the year 2022, it was a series of discoveries that started years ago. So there are also a large number of coffins, a series of discoveries concerning the coffins that were discovered, and also the animals that you've just mentioned in the district of Saqqara. Could we expect more in this area in this year 2023?
Yes, by all means. As I said, Saqqara is occupying a huge area. It starts from the borders of the Giza Plateau, extending all the way south to Mazrouna village, which is a huge area. As I said, it's occupying almost 60 square kilometers.
Yes.
I believe that we will be discovering more. And as I said before, the excavations in Saqqara had started at a very early age, during the time of Mariat Pasha, in the 1880s. So basically speaking, I believe that what had been discovered from Saqqara is not really more than 30% of what is to be expected over there.
Yes. So, Dr. Ihab, in January of the year 2022, the remains of the building that was used as headquarters for the chief of the mining missions in Sinai during Middle Kingdom was discovered in Sinai. So, could you give us an idea about this? And also, as we are talking about Sinai, the northern Sinai, there was the temple of Zeus Cassius.
Yes.
Yes. Let's start first with the remains of the building.
That's something very important, because what we have left from the Middle Kingdom or the buildings related to the Middle Kingdom are not many. The Middle Kingdom, I call it the forgotten period in the Egyptian history, although it's one of the most glorious periods in the Egyptian history. This period which Egypt had rised again from a period of anarchy and deterioration and corruption, and we have those pharaohs who had started exploiting and developing the Egyptian economy and exploiting all the resources, bringing back Egypt to its glory again. I believe that the Middle Kingdom really needs more attention from all the researchers and from the media as well. It's not surprising that we would find such a building in northern Sinai.
Yes.
First of all, because during the Middle Kingdom, there has been a very active mining movement all over Egypt, exploiting all the Egyptian natural resources and mineral resources, especially, and we have lots and lots, we've got lots and lots of texts speaking about mining expeditions. Of course, these expeditions needed logistics to live, and because simply it was not an easy job, because a place like Sinai, for example, it was a very deserted place from the Nile Valley. So any mining expedition needed logistics to live. So you will find in a place like this, you will find ovens for baking bread, which means that they had big storage places for flour to bake their bread, and places for storing the water and the brew they had eaten, because in those days the miners were paid in kind, not in coins. Coins did not appear until very much later on, and not for the use of the Egyptians. Over there we had discovered as well, their ovens, we had discovered ovens for making iron, copper, which was found over there. So the ancient Egyptians, they exploited the copper in Sinai. Not only this, but we had found workshops where they had shaped the turquoise. As you know, Sinai was very well known for turquoise, and we have a huge site over there, mining site, which was in a place called Sarabit el-Khadim. Over there, since maybe the Old Kingdom, and the Egyptians had extracted the turquoise from there, to the extent that they made the goddess Hathor, the local goddess of this area, being known as Hathor Nibet Mifket, Hathor, the Lady of Turquoise. And there's a big temple dedicated to her over there. So probably this place, which they had found belonging to the Middle Kingdom, probably it was built over earlier remains dating back to the Old Kingdom. The most important thing about it, that it had served until the time of the second intermediate period. Maybe end of Middle Kingdom, beginning of the first intermediate period, before the Hyksos period, which is a kind of vague area, which did not receive its fair share of studying.
Yes, also in January 2022, the Egyptian-German joint mission in the West Bank in Luxor have discovered also a number of huge blocks of stones for two statues taking the shape of the Sphinx.
Yes.
So could you shed light on this?
This is a mega discovery, by all means. That this temple, we already had known that there was something there. We had the two colossal statues of Memnon since a very long time, and there had been lots of stories and myth about it. And I think what was preventing all the archaeological expeditions from digging over there was actually the Nile flood.
Yes.
Because the water used to cover the West Bank, and it used to cover the base of the two statues of Memnon. I believe after the high dam, we should have started digging there, but I believe there had been a matter of priorities in the digs. And many people thought that this temple was gone forever until the present expedition had started working there. And I believe they're Austrian, or some of them are Austrian.
Yes.
They had started working in the 90s. And surprisingly, the first thing they found were huge blocks of stones and remains of big statues, because this was the mortuary temple of King Amenhotep III. Every king during the New Kingdom needed to have a mortuary temple, but away from the Valley of the Kings, because in those days they stopped building complexes and they started to separate between the tomb and the mortuary temple. This is the temple, or they were called the palaces of millions of years,
Yes.
to guarantee immortality for the king in the afterlife. I believe this was an amazing building, because King Amenhotep III, who had founded the Temple of Luxor, he will actually build something amazing. And from the pieces I saw they are bringing out, this was a huge temple and something that was amazing. And I believe that after the restoration, it will be something very impressive in the West Bank.
Yes. Since we are in Luxor and in Upper Egypt, let's go a little bit south. The temple of Komombo. There near the temple, an administrative center was discovered, and it was dating back to the first intermediate period. So give us an idea about it.
Yes, this was discovered very recently. It was
First, how did they know it is an administrative center?
from the design of the building
design?
itself, from the
Yes.
pavement, from the design of the building itself, how it's
Building for services? Or
yes, it's divided into buildings of services, places for the employees where they lived. Obviously, it shows that people who were living over there with all the logistics needed to perform their duties. The surprising thing is that it's dating back to the first intermediate period. And this shows that in the first intermediate period, there must have been a strong dynasty in the south ruling up till Komombo, to the extent that they had administrative buildings over there. Because in those days, we had several royal families ruling. The strongest one of them was ruling the south, was from Ihnasia, which is nowadays in Beni Suef. And it shows that this dynasty must have ruled all the way up till the first, maybe the second cataract. And it's known in history that this became a strong dynasty, but ruling the south, the dynasty of Ihnasia, or Hierakonpolis, as it was called in the ancient times. And in the near the temple of Komombo, so it shows that we have to dig over there. Let me tell you something very important. Whenever we dig in a temple, we find more ancient layers. Because basically speaking, the sites of the temples did not change, because the Egyptians had chosen these sites because these are holy sites. Holy sites does not change. So the more you dig, the more you find belonging to earlier periods, because basically even some of these temples, you will find that some blocks had been taken from earlier temples that were located in the same location and reused. So, but finding something belonging to the first intermediate period, that's something very rare, because as I said, this was a period of instability, and it's also a dark area in the Egyptian history, and we haven't got many buildings or many pieces of antiquities dating back from this period, maybe only the tombs of Hawawishan.
Does this shows that it was destroyed in a way or another?
No, it shows that the country was in a place, in a state of instability.
Yes.
As I said, two dynasties ruling Egypt.
Yeah.
even one of the most beautiful pieces of literature came to us from this period, the story of the eloquent peasant who was robbed on the way by one of the officials, one of the state officials. He stole his goods, and this gives an idea about how the country was and how the state, the political state was in those days.
Yes.
And that is why we did not have many great monuments from this period, and we believe that the pyramids of the kings of the Old Kingdom were robbed during that period.
Yes, we are still in south of Egypt in Aswan, and actually the discovery of an ancient tomb in western Aswan that dates back to the Greco-Roman area. So we need to learn more about the details of the discovery of Aswan.
This, of course, the West Bank of Aswan has a number
Yes,
of tombs, but most of them are dating back to the Pharaonic period, and most of them are dating back to the Old Kingdom. But it seems to be that during the Greco-Roman period as well, the locals had used the West Bank of Aswan for their own, for cutting their own tombs, and in these tombs it shows they had found over there some burials, some sarcophagi, some statues, and they had found a mixture between the Greek culture and the ancient Egyptian culture, as it shows. Maybe it's not as rich as the ancient Egyptian tombs, but it shows that there was a mixture in the culture and iconography and lots of things, as it shows in the findings in this tomb, especially when you look at some of the statues, you can still see some Greek influence over there in those pieces.
Yes. So, Dr. Ihab, also the discovery in Abu Sir, which is a cache for mummifying materials, and that was discovered in Abu Sir. What is the importance of this discovery in showing the secrets of mummifying?
Well, Abu Sir, it's an extension to Giza, to Saqqara. So, but the type of the discovery itself, it's quite unusual.
Yes.
A mummification workshop. We believe that it dates back to the late period, around the 26th dynasty, but to find the material before it's being used, this is something new.
Yeah.
Because if you read about mummification and you study about mummification,
You mean it's still raw material?
yes, and some of the remains of the raw materials, it's a workshop where they did the mummification. You will notice that up till now, there are still some doubts about some of the materials they used, about what kind of rattinge material they had used. I had heard from one of our professors, God bless his soul, Dr. Abdul Halim Nuruddin. He said that one of the materials used to come from Yemen, from the mountains of Yemen, which was called mimia, and this and that's where the name mummy came from, and all of that. Maybe this is possible, and especially that ancient Egypt had traded with the Phoenicians, who used to bring these from the Yemeni coast all the way to Egypt, most probably. But to find the material itself as a raw material and still not yet used, that is something I believe that it's very important, and it will open the door to lots of more specific studies about the ancient Egyptian mummification and its techniques, and how the technique had changed from one period to another, from the Old Kingdom to Middle Kingdom to New Kingdom, from nobles or royalty.
Yes.
It's a big branch, which I believe this discovery is going to shed more light on it.
Yes, I thank you very much for your valuable information. Actually, that was not all the discoveries of the year 2022, but some of them. Thank you very much for joining us today, Dr. Ihab Kamel, historian and researcher. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for following me in this segment. My name is Amal Mukhtar. I leave you with my colleague Nermeen Abdurrahman.